The X Zone Radio Show is heard on radio broadcast affiliates worldwide, including
AM 580 CFRA in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
WPUL AM 1590 in Daytona Beach, Florida.
KOHI AM 1610 in St. Helens, Oregon.
KHRO AM 1150 in El Paso, Texas. And for more information on becoming a professional broadcast affiliate of the X Zone Radio Show, visit
www.xzbn.net
or call toll-free worldwide
1-800-610-7035.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you always do. And you don't mean to be cruel, you never even knew about the heartache I've been going through. Well, I try to forget you, girl, but it's just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do, I know all the...
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. We're right here live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable and Ustream. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll-free. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Tristan Rimbaud. And it's great having Tristan back with us here in the X Zone. Over his 14-year career, Tristan has celebrated international acclaim amidst controversies and personal battles as one of the most accurate and youngest psychic mediums in the world. Tristan remains a media fixture with guest appearances on more than 200 radio and television programs worldwide, including the CMT reality series Trading Spouses, showcasing his gift of knowledge from beyond the physical. Tristan spends his time conducting psychic phone readings for clients around the world from his home and office in the Great Midwest while managing his own company, New Life Old Soul. Tristan has written 3 self-published books and produces a signature line of scented prayer candles. As Tristan famously once stated, God doesn't judge us. We have preachers and strangers who do that for us. Joining me now is Tristan Rimbaud. Tristan, always great having you with us here in the X Zone. You are one busy guy.
I am. Thank God I'm still up and running, so to speak.
Tristan, quickly tell us about your new line of scented prayer candles.
We've been working on that for just over 2 years now. We're in the final phase. It was just about 2 to 2.5 years ago that I thought to myself, wouldn't it be interesting to have my own line of candles. And you know how oftentimes you'll think something, that you'll see something on television that inspires you, or you'll read something in an article, and you'll think to yourself, that would be interesting or that would be fun to do, but you never seem to get around to making it a reality or actually giving it serious attention. I started thinking about it because we light prayer candles in the office every day when I do readings for my clients. It's one of the last things I do before I sit down on the phone to finish my meditation and tune in with a client. And after I started thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to, instead of lighting someone else's candle, to have my own line of candles and to be able to choose the fragrances that I want and to have the prayers be prayers that I've written, whether it's a protection candle, so a protection prayer, or a peace candle, and in that case, a peace prayer for your home or for your home office.
Tristan, right now, you and I have to light a special candle. It's called the commercial candle. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Our good friend Tristan Rimbaud is our guest this hour, X Zone Nation. It's great having him back here in the X Zone. www.tristanrimbaud.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. You're listening to us from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. Barely getting by, it's all taking and no giving.
Tristan Rimbaud is our special guest, www.tristanrimbaud.com. Tristan, what is the importance of lighting prayer candles?
That's a good question. I was going to try to come back on after the break and give you a quicker soundbite. Essentially, the idea of doing a line became a dream of doing a line, which became a reality after just about 2 years of phasing. We're going to launch the New Life Old Soul scented prayer candle line in local boutiques in the United States. More specifically, we're starting with the Midwest, more specifically the states of Indiana and Kentucky, and then we're going to go from there with boutiques in other areas. Prayer candles are synonymous with quite a few different religions. Most people affiliate it with Catholicism and also Christianity. The process of it is essentially just a tool of awareness. It's not so much that one has to light a candle to say a prayer. It's the process of recognizing spirit in some way, in this case a physical way. The behavior of lighting a candle is sort of like a symbol of letting spirit know, not only am I saying a prayer, not only am I asking for help, whether it's for protection or peace or what have you, but it's that physical aspect that helps your physical self, because we are both physical and spiritual. It helps us to feel connected on both levels, because we're not only doing something physical, but we're also trying to connect to spirit in that process.
Tristan, where did your voyage, your quest, the quest that you're on now when it comes to helping people, where did this all start?
I would say the very beginning of it would go back to when I grew up in the Midwest, and when I was a kid, I had no idea. I know it sounds funny to hear a psychic say, I had no idea. That's the part where you feel like you're going to hear someone say fraud and start lighting their pitchforks, lighting their torches and grabbing their pitchforks and what have you.
Either that or somebody like me saying there's an honest person.
Yeah, exactly. So I started out as a writer and a model when I was a teenager. I definitely didn't think that I was going to be working as a psychic. When I was a kid, I didn't know that you could do that for a living. When I was a kid, there weren't shows like Medium and Ghost Whisperer and, Cross Country on Women's Entertainment with John Edward. When I was a kid, it was primarily, if you saw a psychic on television, it was psychic hotlines and occasional shows that had phenomena like Unsolved Mysteries. So when I was a kid, I thought that I would become a writer. I thought that that would be the majority of my career, and that I would be able to help people and guide people in writing. And I still do. I've written 3 books. I write articles on various topics, including my research on spirit communication. So for me, the beginning was being a little kid in the state of Indiana, wanting to write, wanting to change the world in a positive way, and wanting to reach people. And through that, it very much wove itself to where I am today.
What were your first psychic experiences, and how old were you?
My first experiences would have been experiences that I don't remember, but my family does. My mother is psychic as well, and when I was a very young child, my grandfather had passed over quite a few years before I was born on my mother's side, and he had been murdered. And it was, of course, very difficult for my mother. They were very close. So when I was a child, my mother never spoke of my grandfather. It was just not something that came up in the house. And there were very few pictures of him as well. When I was a child, I used to come up to my mother when I was first learning to speak, and I would call her the pet name that he used to call her when he was alive, and she had never said that around me. I don't even think she'd ever said it around my father. And so my family knew before I knew that I was picking up on spirit, and since my mother is psychic as well, she understood what that was and understood the process. And they didn't necessarily encourage it when I was growing up. They didn't think that I was going to, become a psychic for a living. But they were also, while they were not endorsing of it, they were supportive. If I would have a scary experience, my first experiences of recollection were as a teenager, probably around, I'd say, the age of 12 or 13 is when I really started to see spirits and really started to have visions on a regular basis, to the point where I couldn't control them. I would, be in the grocery store with my mother and walk past someone and pick up on that they have cancer, or pick up on that their mother just died. And as a child, it was difficult because I didn't know how to, turn it on and turn it off, so to speak. But the very first experiences were ones that my family had through me, if you will.
What, to this date, within the past 14 years, would you consider as the high point of your psychic career?
The high point? Excuse me. I don't know that I could pick out a specific high point. My ego says that doing the Fox reality series Trading Spouses was the high point, simply because I had done almost 200 radio and television programs before I did that show. We shot that back in 2005. And I had never seen such a response. There's this little percentage gauge for my official website, TristanRimbaud.com, that tells us, in a graph, how many people have visited the website that day. And the day that the show aired on Fox, it's in syndication now on CMT cable. It'll actually be on coming up pretty soon again in reruns. The day that the show aired, that I had never seen that little graph percentage chart go up that high. So from a business standpoint, I would say doing that show. But from a personal spiritual standpoint, I try to take it one reading at a time, one day at a time, and I try to thank God as much as I can one day at a time. So for me, every day that I get out of bed that I'm able to do anything is a blessing. But from a business standpoint, I would probably say Trading Spouses.
I remember seeing you on that episode of Trading Spouses, and she was one strange lady. What was her name again?
Margaret.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you pull it off, Tristan? How did you keep yourself all together with her?
Well, when I was growing up as a kid, I grew up in a traditional, if you will, Christian family. We went to church on a regular basis. My mother was the lead singer in the choir. She was a gospel singer when I was a child. So we would travel from church to church, and my mother would sing and perform with local musicians. I grew up around a very conservative viewpoint about psychics and about the paranormal. I grew up around that sort of psychics are the devil mentality. So for me, when I encounter someone who freaks out on me or who doesn't agree with it or who thinks that I'm a Satanist, because I've had so many experiences with that kind of thinking, even going back to being a child, I've learned over the years to let go, let God, to let them have their opinion. And one of the things I learned, I guess you could say the hard way, is honor someone's differences while celebrating your similarities. And that's what I try to do in those kinds of circumstances, is I try to honor the difference and recognize that they think differently and feel differently than I do, but also validate that they're still a human being, they're still a child of God. Now, mind you, if they're holding that pitchfork and they have that burning torch, I'm going to run and pray for you as I'm running, down the street. So it would be different based on the circumstance, but in general, I try to just keep my cool and recognize that they're also a human and find something similar instead of just focusing on it turning into, well, essentially a reality show.
Tristan, why do you think there's so much negativity when it comes between established philosophies, established religions, and the paranormal? Because isn't religion based on paranormal phenomenon?
Well, one of the things that irks me is Jesus Christ himself was intuitive. Jesus Christ himself knew that he was on earth for a spiritual purpose. He communicated with spirit. There are numerous places, numerous scriptures in the Holy Bible where he talks to spirit. So I just think it's kind of absurd if we're looking at it from a Christian standpoint. I think it's absurd to assume that someone is automatically satanic if they communicate with spirit for a living when the basis for the religion itself is a man who communicated with spirit.
I guess for all intents and purposes, Christ was a medium.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even when he was being crucified, he was praying and communicating with spirit even on his deathbed.
Yeah. Tristan Rimbaud is our special guest, ExoNation, www.tristanrimbaud.com. Tristan, a lot of people, it seems today, are turning to alternative philosophies such as New Age mysticism, the paranormal, mediums, for answers that they cannot get anywhere else. Do you see this happening in your practice as well?
Is this the point where I point to Deepak Chopra?
Yeah.
And be like, it's his fault over there. I have found that from the very beginning. I started my work full-time back in 2001 is when I started my company, New Life, Old Soul. And I have found that from the very beginning. I do think that people in general have become less hesitant because of the popularity in the media, shows like Medium, shows like Ghost Whisperer, shows like Ghost Hunters. Essentially, even if we're referencing it in terms of a medical term, the more awareness there is of a medical issue, the more research that starts to happen, the more fundraising starts to happen. It's the same with psychic abilities and the paranormal. The more that people see it on television, read about it in magazines, and start to understand it more, I think the less hesitation comes in, and the more they're willing to consider the possibility of going to a psychic instead of, automatically assuming that it's going to be fraudulent or horrible.
All right, my friend, stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Tristan Rimbaud is our guest. www.tristanrimbaud.com. We'll be back after the news. Don't go away.
Use your mind and they never...
You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio,
Euro High Definition Radio,
and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035.
Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com,
And our website,
www.xzoneradiotv.com.
I believe it's meant to be, darling. I watch you win.
Who can it be knocking at my door? Go away, don't come round here no more. Can't you see that it's late at night? I'm very tired, and I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away, don't you invade my home. Best off if you hang outside. Don't come in, I'll only run and hide. Who can it be now? Who can it be now? Who can it be now?
It's Tristan Rimbaud, that who it can be now. Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. 1-800-610-7035, toll-free worldwide. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. As I said, Tristan Rimbaud is our special guest this hour. His website is www.tristanrimbaud.com. That's TristanRimbaud.com. Tristan, would you say, based on your many years' experience, that everyone is psychic?
I would, yes. The analogy that I've used over the years, because I get asked that quite a lot, especially on radio programs, because that's what I do the most in reference to media. The analogy that I've used over the years is that we can all, to an extent, play baseball, whereas some of us may be good enough at it to do it for a living. Others may just be able to hit the ball around in the backyard. The same can be said for psychic abilities in the sense that we're all intuitive, we're all connected to spirit. Some people will find that they're intuitive enough to pick up on other people and have visions or dreams, precognitive dreams that come true or what have you, whereas other people may find that they just have intuitive moments about themselves and maybe select family members from time to time, or that they just have an instinct every now and then to bring a raincoat and it rains later that day. But we all are to an extent, yes.
It seems that there are psychics that are popping up all over the place, whether it's at new psychic fairs that are visiting towns and communities throughout the United States and Canada, or the massive number of psychics who are now showing up and opening up shop on the internet. How does a listener know? How does a member of the public know who is credible and who is not?
Right. That is an iffy question in the sense that when I answer that, I typically get two reactions from people who are listening. I get people who completely understand, and I get people who get really mad at me. And it's usually other psychics who maybe don't agree with my opinion of it, who get really mad at me. I remember being on tour once and getting into, I wouldn't call it an argument, I would say more that I sat while someone yelled at me. Because I didn't want to yell back. I thought if my temper kicks in and I start yelling back, this is going to be a scene, and we're just going to argue with each other for hours. So I just tried to, like I said earlier, I tried to recognize the human aspect and keep my cool and what have you. When it comes to going to a psychic and trying to find someone credible, I use the analogy of going to a doctor. Typically, when you go to a doctor, it is either because you had a friend or family member who went to them, who had a good experience and feels that they're credible, or you researched the person and you read an article that they wrote as a doctor, or you read reviews of them on the internet from patients of theirs. You did your research. I feel the same should be said when it comes to going to a psychic, whether it's me or anyone else. Look at how long they've been working as a psychic. Do they have a website? Have they done radio and TV? If they have, can you listen to the shows that they've done on the internet? Can you, Google them and look them up? Once you look over how long they've been doing it, and if there are any shows that you can listen to, a big part of going to a psychic is rapport. For instance, I was in therapy for a couple of years for addiction treatment, and I found that a big part of therapy was feeling comfortable with the therapist, because all therapists who are certified are certified. They have that in common. Whereas one person may be able to go to one therapist and get a lot out of it and feel comfortable. Another person may not like that therapist for whatever reason. They don't like their personality, they don't like the way they dress, whatever it is. It's the same thing with going to a psychic. Is even if somebody is the best psychic in the world, if you don't have a rapport with them, if you don't feel akin to them, you're not going to get much out of your reading, and you may not book one in the first place because you don't feel attracted to them in that respect. So I do feel like that rapport is a big part of it. I feel like that research is important if you're going to go to a psychic, because there are a lot of charlatans. There are a lot of people who get into working as a psychic who have had very little experience, which is understandable because we all have to start out somewhere. But for me, I won't go to a psychic. If I were going to a psychic, I won't go to someone who relies on divinations. Divinations are tarot cards, Ouija boards, pendulums. This is the part where people get mad at me. I'm not saying that those things are negative or wrong or bad. I started out using tarot and pendulums, and they're usually referred to as talking boards, but most people understand it when you say Ouija board. I started out using divinations as well, because when you are unsure of your gift and you're unsure of what you're getting, a divination is a physical thing in front of you to help you to validate. It's similar to what I said about lighting a prayer candle, is you feel more comfortable about your prayers being heard because you're connecting on a physical level as well as a spiritual level. And it's very similar with divinations. The difference, though, is that the gift does not come from the tarot cards. The gift does not come from the talking board. The gift comes from your spirit, and your spirit is eternal, and from the spirits that are communicating with you, whether it's a family member or friend for the client that's passed over, or, in general, God, spiritual energy that you're connecting with. You don't need a divination to tune in. And so for me, if a psychic's been working for a long time, like let's say they've been working for 5-6 years full time, and they're still using a divination, I feel like that to an extent, maybe they're leaning on a crutch, and maybe there are things that they're not going to get, that they're limiting their potential as a psychic, because they're relying on and not fully trusting and making that leap into not needing the physical aspect of it beyond their mind interpreting, of course. So for me, those are my big ones, are researching who you go to, looking at how long they've done it, if there's anything you can look up on the internet.
Right.
And then also I'm hesitant about psychics who have been doing it for a longer period of time who still use divinations.
Do you think that people who are seeking answers that, let me just put it out the way that I feel it in my heart right now, that are who are too damn lazy to get off their butts and make their life work, depend on psychics for an easy answer?
That is possible, yes. I have a policy in my office where if you get a psychic phone reading with me, I do readings on the phone for people who hear me on shows just like this one. I have a policy that if you get a reading with me, that you can't have another reading for at least 6 months.
Wow.
The reason for that is, number one, I want there to be enough time for the client to validate everything that I tuned into, because I try to touch on as many things as I can during the hour, and I have them take notes on everything. So I want there to be enough time for them to validate and look over their notes. And I also want there to be enough time for new information to come across. I don't want to just, essentially psychically repeat myself and tell them the same thing I told them a week ago, because as time moves on, as our lives progress, new experiences happen, new emotions come up. So I ask my clients to wait at least 6 months. And part of that is also because, yes, it is possible to get addicted to asking someone else to form your opinions, but you don't have to rely on a psychic to do that. It's possible to get addicted to a negative self-image through looking at models in magazines and saying, I don't look as good as her, and through that losing your sense of self to someone who doesn't even look like that themselves. So, it goes across the board in more than one way. And you have to keep in mind that humans are behavioral-driven, addictive creatures by nature. We're habitual creatures. That's what we do. And so it's possible for a human to get addicted, really, I would say, to anything.
How do you keep yourself distanced? Have you ever found yourself getting involved, involved? And how do you draw that line?
It's difficult. My line drawing oftentimes happens through my mother, because if I'm doing a reading, it's difficult to explain, but there's a difference between being a psychic and being a psychic who's in the media. Because when you involve the media, when you're on radio, when you're on TV, especially if you're on larger shows, you get opinions across the board from people who have never had a reading with you, who have never met you, and they instantly don't like you because you're a psychic. They don't agree with psychics. So it's difficult for me, because for me it's not just drawing the line when it comes to tuning into something difficult and not getting attached to it, but also even in just, general public opinion, not taking that on and getting attached to it. My sort of tether line is my mother, because if I have a difficult reading and I'm tuning into, someone having cancer or someone died from a suicide, those are harsh subjects to talk about for 60 minutes. And I find myself calling my mother at the end of the day, and my mom always says to me, leave your work in the office. You're not in the office anymore. You're not on the phone with your client anymore. You played your role. You did the best job that you could do that day. Let go, let God. And I try to not just listen to her when she says that to me, but also remember it when I'm not on the phone with her.
There's a lot of television shows presently out there, Tristan. You touched on a few of them. Why are people so mesmerized about ghosts?
Well, because ghosts are freaking annoying. There's my one-liner. Okay, I can go to bed now. I threw a one-liner in. Show's over. I've done quite a few haunting investigations in my day, and let me just say that it's not my idea of fun, because someone asked me once, do you enjoy doing haunting investigations? And I said, no, I enjoy getting a coffee. Do I want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go to a dilapidated building with an angry spirit who refuses to accept that they're dead, who may push someone down a flight of stairs? No, I don't look forward to that. I got into haunting investigations even before I started my work as a psychic, because I grew up in a haunted house. And even when my parents shopped around for a new house when I was a teenager, one of the houses that they looked into was haunted. And that's the reason they didn't buy that particular house, because we were on the property, and my mother and myself both instantly knew, and the man on that property followed us around the entire time because it was a farm property that they were considering buying. But nonetheless, I think people are mesmerized by it because there's a close akinning energy, in the sense that a ghost and earthbound is someone essentially. There's a video on my website that I did in my video log series called "What is the Difference Between a Ghost and a Spirit?" A ghost is someone who is still connected to the physical world. They have not crossed all the way. Because of that, their vibration is lower. And their vibration being lower makes it closer to our vibration being in a physical state. So we can feel a ghost, we can feel an earthbound much more than we can, let's say, someone's mother who passed over, who has gone to what most people refer to as heaven. So I think part of being mesmerized by it is that it's closer and there's more of a physical reaction. So many people who don't consider themselves intuitive have gone to places that are haunted and said that they have gotten a physical chill up their back, or that they have physically felt uncomfortable. It's because they're inadvertently picking up on the closeness in energy, whereas if it were a spirit guide or someone who crossed over, who has crossed over all the way, they might have not felt anything at all.
Tristan, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation. Tristan Rimbaud is our special guest. Visit his website. We're also going to tell you when we come back how you can contact Tristan for a one-on-one consultation. My name is Rob McConnell. This is The X Zone. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Well, she seemed alright by dawn's early light, though she looked a little worried and weak. She tried to pretend he wasn't drinking again, but Daddy left the proof on her cheek. And I was only 8 years old that summer, and I always seemed to be in the way. So I took myself down to the fair in town on Independence Day.
Tristan Rimbaud is our special guest this hour. You can go to his website, www.tristanrimbaud.com. And Tristan, if people would like to contact you for a one-on-one consultation with you, how can they do that?
They can either visit the website and click on the psychic readings page on tristanrimbaud.com, or they can also call my office. The office phone number is 502-893-7010. And if they didn't have time to write it down, they can also find the number on the website.
Well, we're going
to contact information page.
Well, we're going to give it out a little later as well, Tristan. As I was saying to you during the commercial break, it's always great having you on the show. We go back, I think, 5 or 6 years when you first came on.
We do, old school. Yeah,
old
the
school.
last time we were together was just about 5 years ago, and
Wow.
we've done quite a few shows over the years, yeah.
And it's great having you with us. We're certainly going to make sure it's not another 5 years before you're on. So tell me, Tristan, do you have anything to tell me about my future?
Do I have anything to tell you about your future?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can get a quick one in so that I don't get winded and we run into the end of the show. I feel like that going into November of this year, so between July 2010 and November 2010, this is not to sound negative or scary, but I feel like that as you get older, you lean toward your father's side of the family genetically when it comes to your health in general, and that connected to that family, there are concerns with the men as they get older with blood pressure and with heart. So I feel like that it's important toward the end of the year for you, if you're not already going to the doctor once a year for a physical, to make sure that everything's in working order, that you do so, because they're giving a concern as you get older about blood pressure, connected to heart. And I feel like that there's a connection to that between July and November 2010, that it's not coming across like a red flag. It's coming across like a concern of, make sure that you're looking out for your heart, make sure that you're watching your diet, and, go to the doctor for a checkup once a year if you're not already doing so.
Already doing all those things, my friend.
Okay, good. Yeah, they're giving a concern about heart and blood pressure connected to going into the fall.
Tristan, as always, great talking to you. One quick thing, the BP oil spill.
Very messy. That's a big subject.
Yeah.
I do feel that the company is going to split into several areas. I don't feel that they're going to continue after all of this is said and done in the way that they are right now. I don't feel that you're going to be going out in the future to a BP gas station to get gas anymore. I feel like that they're going to split into more oil refinery, harvesting, if you will. I don't know what the proper term is for it. More so for other companies and also within themselves, but there's definitely a changing of the approach of the company, and I don't feel that the retail long-term is going to survive.
Tristan, you and I have to say so long for now. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to the next time you and I get together back here in the X Zone.
Thanks so much. God bless.
You take care, my friend. Tristan Rimbaud. Now, if you'd like to give Tristan's office a call to arrange a one-on-one consultation with this young man, 502-893-7010. That's 502-893-7010, or visit him online, tristanrimbaud.com. I'll be back after the news. Don't go away.